Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, hello. We have made it through another week. It doesn't feel like we made it, but we have. But welcome in. I have been waiting all day. I thought to myself, yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to the Loomer situation. Read through that. Right. Shall there be voices? Mayhap. There mayhap be voices. I the voices are just a way to hear the different people. Since everybody's jumping around so much, sometimes it's hard to know which person is talking. Oh, well, good evening. Good evening. Hello, just moi. Good to see you. Hello. Now, don't get me wrong, everybody. I'm still tracking these cases for sure, but it is nice to have a little break here. It's something a bit lighter is really appreciated these days, I think. So, hello, good evening, Queen Jessica. Hello. Hope to do true story. That's a true story also. Hoping the entertainment continues, and I hope so as well. We shall see how it goes. I do have my throat lozenges, so that should be very helpful. The sandwich thrower charged with assault with a deadly weapon, Joe Bill. Oh my gosh, that's funny. I think that's my favorite one. Assault with a deadly weapon. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is where we're at now, Jobu. We are in the sandwich throwing era. Oh my goodness. Hi, Mary. Hi, welcome. Yesterday was hysterical. I thought so too. I thought, oh my gosh. I had to stop laughing because the tears were blurring my vision. Thanks, just moi. Yeah, oh my gosh. The community we have over here is just, I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful that people like to come and hang out and talk to each other and, get a community together. Hello, Willie B. Oh, that's so sweet of you, Angie. So, that's so sweet. Hello, Dolores. Hello, welcome in. So tonight, my friends, I thought, let's go ahead and pick up where we left off on the Loomer case, right? So for those who aren't in the know, Laura Loomer is suing Bill Meyer. Now, I'm going to say his name wrong. Not to be a jerk, but I'm just not good with names, as you all know at this point. So there is a lawsuit against him, and one of the things that was needed was a deposition, right? So we have a deposition in here of Miss Laura Loomer. All right, so again, because this is a civil case, you might wonder why too. Like, I didn't think the plaintiff or one of the parties could be deposed. And in a criminal case, you can't depose like the defendant themselves. So Mar-Lago. Oh, okay, all right. Well, that's so helpful. But during a civil case, you can pull in anybody. And so Miss Laura Loomer has been called in as a witness. She was sworn in, and then they started going through the questioning. So the important things to remember right here, it says examination. So Miss Bulger, I keep thinking of like a Bulgur salad, but you know what I'm saying, right? She is the one on behalf of the defendants, right, who are asking questions of Miss Loomer. So, and the other attorney is Mr. Clayman, and that guy is representing Miss Loomer. All right, so there's our trifecta. So Miss Bulger is asking Miss Loomer questions. Miss Loomer's answering these questions, and we're all wondering what? And it looks like, again, for those of you that weren't here yesterday, we're in like a La Land soap opera world. Oh, hello, Kimmy. Hello, welcome. I think so, Miss Julie. I think so as well. So these two attorneys aren't really very friendly. This guy, to me, I get this vibe that he's watched too many law shows and not spent much time actually in the courtroom. That's my personal thought. And then Miss Bulger, my feeling for her is like she's been taking crap her whole life. And she's like, look, I'm done taking the crap. So so she's pretty wonderfully protective, and we love that for her. So the first few pages that we went through last night, I did finish up the speech for Mr. Orange that he gave in DC talking about, taking over whatever's, and that's turning into a nightmare for them. Anytime you have a judge saying your executive order is all messed up, and then the government's response was, well, we had to hurry. It was a rush job. You can't do a rush job on executive order. That's not how that works. Oh my goodness gracious. So anyway, that was what was going on. But when we were going through this, it seems as though Mr. Clayman really did have some problems with Miss Bulger. And Miss Bulger could probably do a depo like this in her sleep. So she's just corralling them. So we made it here to, this is page 23 of 228 pages. This document is document number 100. Here, let me pull this down. And this is the case number right here. So this was part of a set of exhibits that came in on 228 pages of exhibits too. So that's quite a lot here. So I do want to pick up where we left off, but I want to make sure my sticky note is going to be able to be movable. So let me see if I can put this back on here. I don't know. I get the super sticky notes, and sometimes the super sticky just isn't enough. Oh my gosh. Hello, Katie. Hello, Tay. Oh, good to see you. I've been hoping you've been feeling okay recently, so fingers crossed, right? All right, everyone. So let's dive into the humor. And I'm not sure they're going to think it's humorous, but we do, and that's all that matters. Right. Oh, Tay, you're so sweet. All right, here we go. Let's dive in, everybody. So remember, the person asking the question is the defendant. So Bill Maher, like Mar-a-Lago. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. So Bill Maher is the defendant, and then Miss Loomer, of course, is the plaintiff. So right now we're doing a deposition of Miss Loomer, and she's being asked questions by the defense attorney. All right, so here we go. I think right here we stopped. All right, Mr. Clayman, objection, testimony speaks for itself. I didn't finish my question. I thought you did, miss. I thought you did. Is it separate for, you said you spoke to the president about 50 times. Is that separate from conversations you've had with president's staff? Objection, relevancy. I wouldn't say that it's been 50 direct conversations with the president. You asked how those communications take place, and sometimes they take place through the staff. And so it's a combination. Okay. How many times have you texted with the president's staff? Probably the same amount. So an additional 50 times? Yeah, I would say so. I mean, these are people that I've known for, several years. So I've been involved in conservative media and conservative politics for about 12 years. And so I've known a lot of his staff for a very long time. What social media accounts do you use? Well, it's been widely publicized that I've been banned on social media for speaking the truth and for supporting the president. And everybody knows that there's coordinated censorship against the president and his supporters. This has been documented extensively in congressional hearings, lawsuits, testimony by social media executives themselves who admitted that the FBI worked with them to interfere in the election. Whoa, that's a hearty statement there. And so I have been reinstated to X thanks to Elon Musk. I use X. I use Truth Social occasionally. I'll use Telegram. I have a Gab account. I have a Getter account. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I recently, just to test the waters to see if Facebook was serious about being against censorship, tried to create another Instagram account purposes. Which I did not really use. I use it monthly for research purposes, but I'm most active on X and Truth Social. What's your handle on X? It's at, well, I have several accounts. I have blank, and I have another account that's blank, which is an account I recently created. Can you spell that? Loomerdstrat. Spell it, please. Loomeredstrat. And what is Loomerdstrat? Loomerdstrat is an X account I created for a research company that I recently launched called Loomered Strategies. And what is the purpose of that? Loomered Strategies is a company that I created for the sake of doing research and like opposition research, vetting. It's just another company. Opposition and vetting for whom? Whoever needs opposition, research, or vetting. And what is your Truth Social handle? It's at Laura Loomer. Getter, what is your handle? I believe it's at Laura Loomer also. Okay, how about Gab? I believe it's also at Laura Loomer. Why does she have so many accounts? Great question. And I think you said you just use Telegram sometimes. What's that handle? I think it's all, it's either like Loomer or at Laura Loomer. I don't really use it that much. I used to use it a lot more when I was banned because it was one of the only platforms that I could use. But it's either my name or real Laura Loomer or at Loomer, one of those. I'm happy to go and look after the deposition and get it to you. Whose decision was it to bring this lawsuit? Oh my gosh. Someone's not holding the question back. Ooh. It was my decision. And did you speak to anybody about the decision to bring it before you brought it? You don't have to. Please don't. Please don't tell me about conversations with lawyers. I'm not interested in like the privileged communications. Just, obviously I filed a suit, so I have an attorney. So just my attorney. Okay, and how did you find Mr. Clayman? I've known Mr. Clayman for several years. He's been my lawyer, at least one of my lawyers, since I believe 2018. Okay, where'd you all meet? And I met him in Nevada in 2017. What were you doing in Nevada? I'm a journalist, and so I was investigating the Las Vegas pew-pewing, which was a pew-pewing that took place at a music festival. And I had broken a lot of stories, and I was out there for several months investigating irregularities with the pew-pewing. And Mr. Clayman was there having a press conference with one of his former clients, Cleven Bundy. And I showed up to the press conference and I met him and exchanged contact information with him, and eventually got in touch with Mr. Clayman when I was banned from Twitter in 2018. And he represented me in a filing of an antitrust case where several social media companies that banned me. What was the result of that case? It went all the way to the Supreme Court, and ultimately the court decided not to hear the case. But Justice Thomas issued an opinion saying that the cause was very well thought out and that it raised relevant arguments about the influence of social media companies acting as state actors. And it was his opinion that the court should take a case up like that in the future. How does she know how involved Thomas was? I mean, I don't know. That's one element to all of this, everyone, that I haven't fully explored, is how extensive his contact with the administration is. I have not jumped into that, but I'm not surprised. I'm absolutely not surprised. Okay, So that was his dissent, right? Yes, it's because you lost in the Supreme Court, right? Well, they decided not to take the case up, right? And you lost in the appellate level beneath that, right? Well, objection, relevancy. Yes, I guess so. And you lost in the trial court too, right? Objection, relevancy. Okay, I gotta keep our pages straight here. All right. The witness. Oh, there was no trial. Well, the trial court, the first court, yes, the first court, that's a yes. Okay, I'm going to ask you to, but it doesn't mean it doesn't to take every, I'm going to ask. I would say that there's no, let her, she's allowed. I want to say one at a time, please. Yes, there's no pending question. You may not speak. She's allowed to. May I have you give your answer? She is not. No, you may ask her a follow-up. You're allowed to. No, she may not randomly speak on the record. You don't make the rules. Well, I'm answering the question. Can I ask you to please mark as Exhibit 1? You don't make the rules. Go ahead. This document, answer what you want to say. Mr. Clayman, just because I lost the case doesn't mean that it wasn't relevant. And I was ahead of the curve, as I usually am. And it was later noted during congressional hearings in which executives of these social media companies testified under oath that they were in fact behaving as state actors and acting at the direction of people like Joe Biden and our federal law enforcement agencies, and they were behaving in a politically biased manner. And so it was our belief that had the case, have been reviewed in front of the court. After that information, was released under the oath in front of Congress, that there would have been a different outcome. And so, some people can say I lost, but a lot of other people say that it was a pioneering case. Nobody's saying that about your case. There is nobody saying that your case is pioneering. And I'll die on that hill. As I was the canary in the coal mine. Oh my gosh. And it really, paved the way for other free speech warriors like myself and people who have been demonized by President Trump. Demonized because of their support for President Trump. To file lawsuits against these social media companies and behaving as state actors. Okay, I'm going to move to strike that, and I'm going to take that time back because that was not responsive to my question, and I'll add that time to my 7 hours. Well, you don't get to decide. We're going to mark as Exhibit 1. Can you please stop being so arrogant? The defendants and abrasive. First set of requests for documents and production things. Can you mark that as Exhibit 1, please? Okay, it's amazing how here we go, Mr. Clayman. Don't throw things at me. Can you mark this? I'm sorry, I was trying to reach it to you. No, that's intentional, okay? It wasn't intentional. You treat both of us with, can you mark this as Exhibit 1, please? Respect. That's something which has not happened in this case. Okay, I've asked the court reporter to hand you Exhibit 1, which is the document request that were propounded to you by the defendants in this action. Have you seen this document, Miss Loomer? Yes. Okay, and did you do your search for documents responsive to this document? Vague and ambiguous. You might want to ask her, more specifically. Mr. Clayman, Miss Loomer, you can answer my question. And there were objections as well, so that should be noted. This does not reflect on the objections. So my question was, what did you do to do a search for documents responsive to this request? Well, as I said, and as my attorney said too, there were objections made regarding relevancy to some of these overreaching requests for documents, and so I provided relevant documents. All right, what the H is that? We don't know. Okay, so unlike Bill Maher, let's start out by saying number one. All documents and communication concerning the September 13th episode, 2024 episode, what did you do to search for these documents? Well, you have the episode and you have I know, answer my question, which is what did you do to search for these documents? That's my question. The episode on September 13th was aired by HBO. And so it's not like I planned to wake up and see Bill Maher had falsely accused me of having sex with President Trump. And so I looked for the transcript and the video recording of the episode and the media publications that were published in the aftermath of the airing of this episode. For number 5, where it says all documents and communications between you and President Trump, what did you do to search for those documents? Well, there's an objection to that in terms of overbreadth, relevancy, vague, and ambiguous. You don't get to testify, Mr. Clayman. Miss Loomer, what did you do to search those documents, for those documents? But you're presuming facts. There's nothing that are not in evidence. Gosh, this attorney, I tell you. All right. Objectionable about this question. You're presuming facts that are not in evidence. What did you do to search for those documents? Well, there was an objection. And as I said, I'm a journalist. And so there's a lot of, restrictions on what constitutes communication. And, the first of the matter here is that Bill Maher falsely accused me of having sex with President Trump. And so, there's no evidence that I had sex with President Trump. I have never even been in the same room with President Trump alone. And, so you're saying you didn't search for those documents. I provided all the documents that were relevant. And I did search for documents, and I provided everything necessary. I provided the letter that I sent to his staff during the transition team. And did you search for your private communication with the Mr. Trump or his staff as requested in this document request? Yeah, I believe so. Did you produce them to me? I turned them over, whatever I had that was not objected to my attorney to give to you. But again, there were objections. So is it your testimony under oath that you've never exchanged any written communications with Mr. Orange or his team? Asked and answered. I already said that. I have communicated with Mr. Orange's staff over the phone. You also said you got text messages, right? Yes, but that has nothing to do with, I didn't ask you what, but that has nothing to do with it. Wait, but you, and as a journalist, and so so you did not search for any documents? That's not true. Related to your communication? That's not true. They were, sorry everybody, I only get a certain number of the Mr. T word, and then I have to be careful. Oh my goodness. Let me ask the question, Ms. Loomer. You did not search for any documents related to your communications with Mr. Orange or his team that you and Mr. Clayman declared weren't relevant. Is that correct? But there were other aspects of the objection, that mistake. Is that correct? That's not true. There were objections. Right. You decided what your objections were, and then you didn't search for any documents other than what you thought was that's up to you take it up with a judge. You take it up with a judge because because you didn't search for it. Your request, that's not true. A lot of your requests were very harassing and overreaching, and that's why my attorney objected to them. So you can take it up with the judge. Your client didn't even produce documents. Okay? Your client wants his entire deposition under seal because he doesn't want the world to see what a horrible, misogynistic, sexist person he is. So he admitted that he had wait. Let me make sure I got that right. Wait. Miss Loomer, that is confidential, and you know it's confidential. And if you want to sit here and violate a court order, you go right ahead. I'm not violating any court order, miss. She did not give any testimony about what he said. Miss Loomer, did you search for all documents and communications supporting the complaint's allegations that the episode severely harmed and damaged you? That's on it's number 12. Yes, I did. And what documents did you produce? I turned over my resume. I turned over my letter with the transition team. And obviously, I'm not working in the White House. And so it has damaged me because I was expecting to work in the White House. And you have those documents. You have those communications. That has my email. So you already have my email. I'll get my sticky note to get sorted out here. So that's it. All you had was that. The only evidence you have of your reputation being damaged by the report was that one misstates testimony. Misstates testimony. Oh my gosh, the objections here, everybody. Application you made to the White House. I turned over tweets. Misstates testimony. Wait. I turned over tweets. I turned over media reports that insinuated that I'm a whore, that I was having an affair with the president. I turned over a lot of news, publications, including the additional episode that was published and aired by HBO and Bill Maher, in which he tried to compound the damages that he did to my reputation on September 13th, and episodes that were seen millions of times. Do you understand that when we asked for documents, we were asking for any and all communications you had with anyone about the episode? That misstates what you were asking for. You can refer to the specific request, but don't. Miss Loomer, please answer my question. No, she doesn't have to answer your question if it's improperly formed. Miss Loomer, answer my question. Answer my question. Objection. I turned over documents and I consulted with my attorney on what was acceptable. And if there's anything that you find unacceptable, you can take it up with the judge. But you did not search for any documents that you did not deem acceptable. Is that correct? I did search for documents, and I'm not required to turn over things that are harassing in nature or are overreaching. I have protections and I have rights, just like your client didn't turn over documents. That's a pile of, that's a lot to get sorted out in such a small period of time here. So, what do you do for a living, Miss Loomer? I'm a journalist. You, in fact, describe yourself as an investigative journalist, correct? Yes. Okay, what does it mean to you to be an investigative journalist? Well, I expose fraud, corruption, waste, abuse. I investigate wrongdoing. I expose people. I expose people like many of your clients for their involvement in the weaponization of government. I expose malicious law affair. I expose all types of corruption, which is why I have amassed a very large following online. Because I've broken a lot of very big stories exposing a lot of corruption in our country. Do you follow a particular code of ethics in doing your investigative journalism? All right, highlighter time, everybody. All right, excellent question. It's too good. We can't pass it by without highlighting it. Do you follow a particular code of ethics in doing your investigative journalism? Vague and ambiguous objection. Yeah, I report the truth. Have you ever heard of the SPJ Code of Ethics, for example? Yeah, but I also know objection relevancy, that you know this, a lot of the standards that are determined and defined by the mainstream media, and a lot of these journalist entities are biased in nature. They lean heavily towards the left. And I'm also not naive. I understand that there's a lot of bias perpetuated. Oh, thank you so much. You need that little cheer. Perpetuated by the news, which you're familiar with. Obviously, your firm represented George Stephanopoulos, who had to settle with President Trump for $15 million. And you make a lot of money representing the purveyors of fake news, who clearly don't abide by the rules of journalistic ethics. So you should ask your own clients whether or not they understand journalistic ethics. All right, I'm not sure about that. Slide the page down just a bit. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got a couple screens here, everyone. So usually it looks good on one screen, but on the other screens it's jacked up. So I appreciate that. How is this? Is this okay? I'll have my tang here while we discuss. Okay, is it better? Good, good. All right, things are getting out of control. I had to switch back to tang. All right, so here's my tang. All right, here we go. Let me jump back into it. We're in it to win it, right? All right. Let's start with our objection here. Vague and ambiguous objection. Yeah, I report the truth. Have you ever heard of the SPJ Code of Ethics, for example? Yeah, but I also know objection relevancy, that this is a lot of standards that are determined and defined by the mainstream media, and a lot of these journalist entities are biased in nature. They lean heavily towards the left. And I did read this piece already, so let's skip a little bit. So again, maybe they wouldn't have had to settle with President Trump for $15 million if your client had understood journalistic ethics, right? Miss Loomer, my question was, have you ever heard of the SPJ Code of Ethics? And you suddenly launched into a tirade, which you continually do. Oh my goodness. No, I said yes, and I'm just reminding you. I said yes, but I said yes. Oh my goodness. These people. One at a time, please. One at a time, please. I said yes, but I'm also not going to be gaslit by a Democratic lawyer who represents fake news media and has given political donations to Democrats. I've checked the FEC records because I am an investigative journalist, and I know that you've donated to the DCC. You donate to Act Blue, and you represent Trump haters who have had to settle with Mr. Orange because they are purveyors of fake news. So I'm not going to be gaslit by you. I'll answer your question, but I'm not going to be gaslit, Miss Loomer, by a Democrat lawyer. You don't get to yell at me, Miss Bulger says. I'm not. And you don't get to make this personal. I'm not yelling at you because that's pathetic. Oh my God. Who's this woman? She's my new best friend. Let's be best friends together. I'm not yelling at you. I am my question. I'm letting the people know because this is probably going to go to trial, I'm letting people know that I understand journalistic ethics. But your clients, people should know that you represented CNN on your law firm website. You said that you are Mr. Orange's least favorite firm. I don't say that. You make money and you monetize. You did. You have since deleted, right? For the record, Davis Wright Tremaine has since deleted this article that they had highlighted on their website. Hollywood Reporter from March of 2009. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, that's lovely. we're going to start timing these, Miss Loomer. This is when the attorneys have just about had enough. When you're getting on an alarm clock, things are taking a turn for the worst. Oh my gosh. All right. That's fine. Go ahead. We have 7 hours. We're here all day. We're having a lot more, sister. What? What is this, attorney? We're having a lot more, sister. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. All right, I gotta get myself together here. Professional. Oh. All right, they have an article on their website which they have since deleted after I exposed them because they like to monetize off of malicious lies from the fake news media. Oh my goodness. So you should ask yourself if your law firm, whether or not you believe in journalistic ethics. So you've never read the SPJ Code of Ethics. I don't care about reading, any made up rules, any made up ethics from purveyors of fake news and people that want to put their political affiliation ahead of the truth. So when people read what you write, and I don't care to get a lecture from a Democrat lawyer who donates to Democrats. So when people read what you write, are you holding it out to them as the truth? Yes. You referred to yourself earlier as a free speech warrior, right? Yes. What's a free speech warrior? I fight for free speech. You also referred to yourself as a free speech absolutist, correct? Yes. What does that mean? Well, within the realms of acceptable speech, not defamation like your client has communicated against me. I fight for freedom of expression and free speech. But that doesn't include malicious lies, including the lie that I had sex with President Orange. So what other categories of speech do you, as a self-described free speech absolutist, not protest? All right, I got to say this again. I was laughing too much. All right. So what other categories of speech do you, as a self-described free speech absolutist, not protect? You're a defamation lawyer. You can't. You surely understand that you cannot just falsely accuse a woman of having sex with the president and trying to ruin his marriage simply because you don't like the fact that the person traveled to a presidential debate with the president and his campaign staff. Surely you know that. I would like to put in here that perhaps, just perhaps, there are other problems in his marriage outside of this lady. I'm just going to put that there. It's food for thought. So or maybe you don't, because your clients have lost and had to settle with Mr. Orange because they defamed him. I don't know. Maybe you don't understand defamation. Have you ever taken a journalism course? Yes, I was valedictorian and I graduated with a 4.0 GPA from Barry University. And I majored in broadcast and emerging media. And I minored in political science. Have you ever taken a journalism ethics class? Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Yes. When did you do that? When I was in college. What did you learn in the course? Well, objection, relevancy, harassment. I learned that the educational system in our colleges and our universities is plagued by Democrats who pretend to be intellectuals, who want to try to indoctrinate students with left-wing ideology. I learned about the importance of standing up for your rights. I learned about the importance of not being bullied by professors. I bet she was well liked. And I successfully resisted being indoctrinated into a little mini Marxist and communist, which is what we're seeing come out of a lot of American universities today. You know, it's why Mr. Orange wanted to defund the Department of Education, because people know that there's a progressive Marxist rot in our educational institutions. And so I would say that I took a lot of what I learned in college with a grain of salt, because I'm not going to let myself be a vehicle for Marxist indoctrination. Holy buckets. Holy crap. That's all right. Okay, that's one way of looking at it. So just to put that together in answer to my question, I answered your question. What did you learn in a journalism ethics course? I told you what I learned. You said that you learned not to be a Marxist? Yes, that's true. You own a company called Illuminate Media? Yes. What is Illuminate Media? It's my media company. And what does it do? I have a website, I publish news, I have a show, a podcast called Loomer Unleashed, and we publish news reports and we do investigative reporting. How many people are employed by Illuminate Media? Objection, relevancy, myself, and I have a couple contractors. Goodness gracious. Okay, who are those contractors? I'm just trying to make sure I think my papers are walking on their own here. There we go. There we go. All right. Okay, who are those contractors? Do you want their names? Yes. I have a production company that I pay on a monthly basis. What's that called? What is that called? It's called ARC Studios, and what do they do? They just clip my videos from my podcast, and they edit my clips, and they edit the news clips from my DC correspondent. His name is Charles Downs. Okay, and Charles Downs is just so I understand, Charles Downs is your DC correspondent? Yes. And he is a contractor or employee? He's a contractor. Okay, and does he work just for you? I believe so. I mean, I don't get into his personal business. He's a contractor. He's free to work for other people if he wants to, but he works with me. I've seen your show, Miss Loomer. Occasionally, you ask someone to put something on the screen or show something. Yeah. Who is it that you're talking to? My producer. Who is your producer? His name is Cannon, and he is an employee of ARC Studios. So the production company employs their staff, and I contract out the production company. Okay, so Illuminate Media has no employees. Is that right, other than you? Correct. Okay, I'm going to ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit 2 a document, actually, that you produced, Ms. Loomer, which bears what I believe are the Bates numbers at the bottom right-hand corner, 16 through 24. Can I have a copy of that? Of course you can. And the witness? I'm going to try to get it to you without throwing it to you, Larry, but you're far away. That would be nice. Thank you. I'm going to draw your attention to page 20, but if you want to take a look at it generally, I'm fine with that. Go ahead and look at every page. My first question is going to be, do you recognize what this is? Yes. What is it? The letter that I produced to your document request is a letter that I sent to Trent Morse, who currently works in the White House PPO office. And at the time, he was leading the transition team for Mr. Orange, and this was sent November 14th of 2024. It's a copy of my resume and my cover letter. Okay. Can I ask you to turn to the letter, which starts, the first page of the letter has the Bates number 20. In the bottom right corner, just let me know when you're there. Can I take a quick bathroom break? Oh my gosh. You did not just say that, sir. You did not just say that during a deposition. Are you freaking kidding me with this? That's not how you do that. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. All right. This means Mr. Clayman has not done this very often. Oh my gosh. Well, you usually too, you would just say, I need a break, or we need to, take a 15-minute break. Like, you don't go into the specifics here. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I need more Tang. Oh, that's just ridiculous. All right. Is morning coffee? You getting sick of it? Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of elements in play here. Oh my gosh. All right. Can I take a quick bathroom break? Can we finish this document? Well, that's why I want to do it, because I got to go to the bathroom right now. What is wrong with these people? Oh my gosh. Sure, that's fine. We can take a break. Okay, yeah. Off the record at 10:57. Why is this happening? Why is this part of what's happening right now? God, this is awful. All right, so we're back on the record, everybody. And if you'll note, it was 5 minutes. It was just 5 minutes. Oh my gosh. All right, here we go, back into it. Okay, Miss Loomer, I can't remember if I asked you this, so forgive me if I'm repeating the question. But this is a letter at 20 that you sent to the Orange Transition Team on November 14th of 2024, correct? Yes. Okay, did you draft this letter? Yes. Okay, terrific. You began by saying, with 10 years of experience as a communications professional, as an investigative journalist, do you see that? Yes. What's the difference in your mind between a communications professional and investigative journalist? Well, they're overlapping. I mean, I'm appealing to the fact that I have many skill sets. I was the communications director for Project Veritas when I worked for Project Veritas out of college. And, I would say that qualifies me to say that I'm a communications professional. I worked at a very well-known, high-profile, probably like the leading undercover investigative journalism company in the entire country, especially during the presidential election year. And I was their comms director, so I was truthful. All right. And I have skills in, doing communications work outside of reporting, right? So you can serve as communications director. I can serve as a press liaison. I can draft press releases. I have those skill sets. That's great. And when I was applying for a position in the Mr. Orange administration, I was making it known what my talents and my skills are in my background. Did you have a particular position you wanted? Well, I was actually told that I was going to be working for Mr. Orange when he hired me in his office in March of 2023 during a private meeting with him and Susie Wiles at Mar-a-Lago. And this was during the primary. And Mr. Orange had actually instructed Susie to onboard me to do research for and perhaps assist with communication as well in the primary. And then ultimately, there was a whole big story in the New York Times, and that didn't end up happening. But I had just sent this as kind of like an official professional in a professional manner to just have like a record of my resume and my cover letter. Because, it's been widely publicized that Mr. Orange had hired me in March, and that, there was a discussion about bringing me on during the campaign when I was traveling, even though I wasn't working for the Mr. Orange. He was just, a fan of my investigative reporting. Oh dear, he was a fan. He was a fan. All right, here we go. And then also, this is what we would call it, giving a narrative. And then also, after the campaign, right, I was really hoping that I would have a job. And Mr. Orange had said on multiple occasions that I would work for him. Okay, I'm just going to cut that down into smaller bits, just so I understand the timeline, if you don't mind. So you said it in March of 2023. 23, that you were at a sit-down meeting with, and I'm not trying to misstate your testimony. I'm trying to get it, correctly because it was quick. That's fine. I understand. So when you were in March of 2023, you were at Mar-a-Lago with Susie Wiles and Mr. Orange, and the candidate, Mr. Orange, now President, Mr. Orange. Yes. And at that time, he offered you a job on his campaign. Is that correct? Yes. And it was not supposed to be. It wasn't a job interview. I'll tell you what the meeting was. So I'd been investigating Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, and there was always speculation that he was going to run for president. And nobody like Mr. Orange hadn't taken a shot at him yet, and there hadn't been like an official break because people always thought that they were allies. So it's important for people to have that context. And so in my capacity as an investigative journalist, I was reporting on the governor's misappropriation. And this was widely reported by, left-wing media, right-wing media of, taxpayer funds in the state of Florida while he was governor to run a shadow presidential campaign disguised as a book tour. Well, I'm reading a book tour. And so I showed up to the book tour, and I was there to report on it where I was living, where I ran for Congress, and ultimately the governor and his staff called the police. What? I feel like we're missing something here. Oh my gosh. Let's just let's back this up a little bit here. All right. And so I showed up to the book tour, and I was there to report on it, where I was living, where I ran for Congress. And ultimately the governor and his staff called the police. What? That's crazy town. And the police came and they said we had to leave because we were Mr. Orange supporters. And at that point, the video had gone viral. It was seen, I believe, like 27 million times. And it was all over the media. And Mr. Orange had seen the video, and what that was really like first breaking point that established the fact that Ron DeSantis was running. What that was really like first breaking point that established the fact that Ron DeSantis was running against Trump. And so I was invited to meet at Mar-a-Lago because the president wanted to meet me, right? He wanted to meet me because he was impressed by my reporting. And he, in the conversation that took place in his office with Susie Wiles at Mar-a-Lago, he was just asking me like all types of different questions. And what I thought about certain at Mar-a-Lago, he was just asking me like all types of different questions. And what I thought about certain issues or my knowledge on certain issues. I'm going to do a quick side note here, everyone. Since recently, I think just 2 weeks ago, we went through the Stormy Daniels testimony, and she was talking about like what was going on before things got down the wrong road. And she was saying he was asking her questions also. So to me, that's a modus operandi. So he's asking all these questions, really seeming like he's interested in what you have to say as kind of a way of grooming, in my opinion. I would say that. That's my opinion based off of my years working in the criminal justice system. All right, here we go. And he said he wanted to hire me on the spot, even though it was not a job interview. And he instructed Susie Wiles to onboard me, and I was supposed to start working for his presidential campaign on April 1st of 2023. But then you did not, correct? I did not. And why was that? Or why not was that? Or why was that? Well, it's strange because the president instructed this to happen. And from my understanding of how it went down, Susie had announced to the campaign in an office meeting, because they had their weekly meetings. This is what I told. This is what I was told. I wasn't there in the room, so for this discussion. So I'm going off of what I was told when I had a phone conversation with Susie Wiles. She had told me that she made an announcement to the campaign staff about the fact that I'd be joining the campaign. And it was her belief, this is what she told me, that one of the staff leaked it to the New York Times. And then the New York Times ended up planting a hit piece about it. They changed the title multiple times. It was something along the lines of like, Mr. Orange has hired, they called me anti this thing activist because I, report the truth about this stuff and anti this stuff in America to work on his campaign. Some of those words are going to get me dinged, everybody. So I'm trying to be a little careful here. All right. All right. And then they got a lot of anonymous sources to basically say, oh, well, we didn't like this, or, oh, yeah, who knows if like real sources, because they don't, attribute it to real people. But then there was a follow-up article by Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan from the New York Times at the end of the day, and they got a number of anonymous sources to say that I would not be working on the campaign. And so, it was kind of the elephants in the room the entire campaign season, because, there wasn't really anybody else who was breaking the kind of reporting that I was breaking. Oh my goodness gracious. That was so pivotal to President Orange's lawfare. I exposed a lot of the weaponization against the president, and the president was very grateful for it. And his staff also, a lot of his staff were very grateful for it too. Oh, thanks. I was like, is the document not in frame again? Well, hello everybody. All right, here we go, back into it. And I was, given access, like many other journalists, to the campaign. Like I said, I have a media company, and so my staff and I oftentimes, travel to the campaign events, and we were given press credentials to report on some of the rallies, right? You have to apply for the process, of course, like through their communications team. It's like a form that you fill out, and then it just, they let you know when you get to go inside the venue. And so, I went to South Carolina, went to Iowa, went to New Hampshire. I was in Florida. Let me just interrupt you. It's about dang time, counselor. That's about time. I'm not sure that this answers my question. Well, I'm just trying to explain it to you because, there's been a lot of misinformation in the media about it. So I was not an employee, and I am not an employee of Mr. Orange. But it was completely normal for me to travel with the campaign. A lot of journalists traveled with the campaign, actually. It's just the media wanted to sensationalize me for that period of time. For some manner. So we're back here to the attorney, everybody. So I'm just talking about the time period of March of 2023. March of 2023, that's correct. Yes. When you believed you were offered a job by Mr. Orange's campaign. I was offered a job. Yes. Okay. And then, sorry, I didn't mean to say otherwise. Yeah. You were offered a job by the Orange campaign, and then that offer was withdrawn. It wasn't even formally withdrawn. It was kind of bizarre. It was kind of just like this, like silent treatment in a sense, where I wasn't really officially contracted to say like, oh, your employment is being withdrawn. It was just kind of like not discussed, right? So it was just it was strange, and I didn't want to press it, obviously, because I didn't want to upset the president. And I, don't want to, obviously, I was upset that this happened and that it was leaked, but I wasn't trying to create drama for the president because I care more. I care more about, the president and, my country than I did my ego. And so I was willing to put it aside for the sake of not having some fight in the media that they would have used to attack President Orange and his staff. Okay. You just mentioned quickly, you said that when you were getting credentials, your staff, and you said you used this phrase, my staff, and I would get credentials. Who was the staff? My staff, and I know I've used the term like employee interchangeably, and I mean staff. Because obviously, there's contractors, the term employee, of course, it's like a difference in tax purposes. But my staff, right? My contractors, the video production team that I travel with. So I would pay the expenses for my video and production team. That and during the campaign too, I have my own media company, but because I was doing the show and it was like very extensive, I was working actually for a media company at that time. So I had my own media company, but I was also working for a media company due to the sponsorship arrangement with my show. And who's that? And I'm not working with that. I don't work with that company anymore. What company was that? It was called TLM Media. But I was working with them because it was their staff, right? And eventually their staff broke off and started their own company because they had, their own internal issues. But I'm just explaining. When I say like I manage a team of employees, even though I was employed by the company during that time period while still managing my own company, I still managed the other employees, right? Because the employees were my team, right? Like my production team. Ooh, puzzle piece, everybody. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Did we make it? Oh, we made it. Woohoo. Oh my gosh, I'm glad they got rid of the circle one, everybody. Here we go. TLM. But I'm explaining when I said like I manage a team of employees, even though I was employed by the company during the time period, which still managing my own company. I still manage the employees, right? Because the employees were my team, right? Like the production team. And I was the main client, right? While I was working there too. So I just wanted to let you know. I wanted to clarify that because, in the media, you can... Miss Loomer, there's no question pending about that. So let me know, I know, but now ask you a question and then you can answer that question. But that's what I mean by staff. I pay them to go with me. Great. To travel to cover these events. Yes. Okay. Then other than that time in March of 2023, when the president told you that he wanted you to work for him, has there been a time where the president or a member of his staff have offered you a job? Yes. When was that? During the campaign. I remembered I was sitting on the plane with the president when I think we were flying to Iowa for a primary, and the president had said, "You're going to come to DC with me." And his staff on the plane were clapping, right? And they said, "Oh, you do such fabulous work. You do such great work." And he said that you're going to go to DC with me. And Susie Wiles was on the plane when that happened. The press team was on the plane when that happened. Hydrate. Actually, I should probably pause here. Let's speak of hydration. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll probably just finish this page here, everybody, because again, there's so many. This will need to be a third live. And I'm not mad about that. All right. This president was sitting directly across from me because he had invited me to travel with his team. I'd flown multiple times with them to Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. And this, there was an understanding too. I had conversations with Susie Wiles, and I would have a position at the White House after the election if President Trump won. And he did win. And I had this conversation on the phone and in person multiple times during the campaign. Okay, so we've talked about the time in March. We've talked about the time you discussed it on the plane to the Iowa caucuses, I assume, right? Yeah. It was like the week of the Iowa caucuses because there were some rallies. And I'm not remembering the exact dates. I mean, I don't have a calendar in front of me. And I saw, some news coverage. But I believe the caucus was January 15th. And so it was like the time period leading up to that. Because I spent about 2 weeks in Iowa and... I believe I either flew to Iowa or flew back. I think I flew to Iowa with the president and his staff. And I flew to South Carolina during the primary. And I flew to New Hampshire with them as well. All right, and at this point, everyone, I will go ahead and pause for tonight. So I think an hour is plenty. Caucuses, yeah. All right, everybody, let's move this up so I can make sure I see comments. So what are our thoughts here? My gosh, my background's getting away from me there. What are our thoughts at this point? He didn't hire her as an attorney. Oh, my gosh. See, I know the media is, and I've got no problems here. I'm not going to go after the media. But I know the media was talking about the Arby's sandwich. And so when I was cracking this open and looking at it, I'm like, oh, there's more than just sandwiches in here. There's plenty more. She does love. I think she likes to keep the spotlight on her. Switch to decaf. Ooh, I agree. She seems unwell. Is it proper to call her a surrogate? That's a good question. I'm not sure. Almost narcissistic as he is. Yeah. Bit delusional. Yes. I'm for the administration. Sure. No, none of them know how to keep their mouth shut. They really don't. Would you have advised her to talk way less? Yes, I would. And I would say that for any client when we would go in for a deposition. Let me get another sticky note here so I can I can outline it for you. So the most important thing with depositions, and again, this isn't legal advice, but this is just depositions. This is years of work. Number one, keep it brief. Keep your comments brief, and two, keep them truthful. So as long as you're telling the truth, first of all, that's the number one goal, but then also keep it brief. So if you can answer a yes or no question with a yes or no, answer it with a yes or no. There's no need to elaborate, because then that forces the attorney to ask a better question. Right, she barely answers the question. I feel like they don't really, they're not really listening very well here. Oh my gosh. Exactly. The more you can say wrong. Well, and the thing is too, like a lot of people feel like if they don't have exact dates and times, that's what will snag their reputation or their propensity for lying. That is what will snag them up. But that's not true. And any lawyer who's been doing trial work and questioning witnesses on the stand, you know that although the dates may be off a little bit, first of all, you can fix that by walking through a different set of questions. But also the juries are like, whatever, keep the show going. So also, that's what I recall. Yes, that's what I recall is one of the greatest, miscellaneous answers ever. How we do it right. Never offer up more information. Keep as few words as possible. Right. So the thing is, you want, as I'm referencing clients here, but the clients who are answering the questions with the yes or no's, great. Make that opposing counsel do their job. Make them do their job. If their question is just a yes or no leading question, fine. And if they ask a bad question, you can say, I don't know what you're saying. And that's okay. That doesn't mean you're stupid. It just means the lawyer asked a bad question. I think there's some kind of a bit of power play going on between whoever's being deposed and the attorney. And I think it's because, who wants to get stuck in a room with two attorneys? Not me. But they have this tendency to kind of err on the side of importance for the attorney, but they're not. They're just regular people, and their job's just to ask questions. Melania Hunter case. I don't know what's going on with that one. Yikes. I don't know. I thought it was interesting that they mentioned that in here. Maybe less, one of the things that will catch you up, and I learned this, I went to a really amazing conference for prosecutors that work just with the juvenile justice system. So the child in need of care as well as delinquencies. And one of the things that they did was we had a case. We worked through a case and we worked through all the different people that were involved and such. And then they would record us. We were making our opening statements, or we were doing a direct examination or a cross-examination. They would record us. And I tell you what, there is nothing like seeing yourself sitting there being like, okay, next. So you don't really realize that until someone calls you out on it. Not yet for Lindsey Graham, as you know, right? Excuse me. And I know that there are words that I say because I've, done this a long time. But then when you start hearing other people say it, it's like, what? The one thing, though, that the instructor at the conference, oh my gosh, everybody, side note, the one thing that the conference people were like, it seems like halfway through your cross-examination, you got really upset, started, and you're attacking the witness. It was like the Hulk came out. I had to get her back in. because I was asking these questions, and even the people who were running the whole seminar were like, that's really aggressive. I'm like, all right, dialing it back, dialing it back. Put the tiger back in the cage, everybody. Oh my gosh, but it was so fun. I learned a lot. I learned a lot. It was a great learning opportunity for me. Oh my gosh. Oh, the voting boundaries. No, not yet. Not yet. But that's hit the that's hit the news pretty hard. Yeah, the Hulk came out. I could. And it was just role playing too. But I was like so into this case. This case was so important to me. This imaginary case. I was like, I'm gonna win this. I gotta win. I don't care who gets hurt. I'm winning it. And they're like, well, that's not the reason we're doing this. Like, whatever. Oh my gosh. It's hard not to. It's hard not to because it's hard to not use filler words because we are mostly in a society where just, silent air is a bit troubling, especially in this kind of a field. That's one of the number one, I'll give you a little sneak peek. One of the number one tools that we educate law enforcement on is how to use silence as a way to get more information or to get that admission. So silence itself is another tool in your toolbox when you're working through a case. Yeah, with Louisiana. Yeah, Crafty. I'm going to have to take a looky-loo here and see. I've just been catching little bits and pieces today. So let me put that here on my list so I can check that out for sure. Yeah. Oh, there's some weird stuff going on there. Louisiana needs to get itself sorted out. And I mean that. I'm not even kidding. Get yourself sorted out, Louisiana. Interesting, she would, accuse others of gaslighting. Yeah, and I think that really goes to, again, the modus operandi of this administration, which is do what you want, just say sorry later rather than, can I do this? Just apologize, it'll be fine. Or don't apologize are many of the cases. So that, and then also double it back. Whatever they say about you, you say about them. I mean, it's like being in fifth grade again. Like, I'm gonna call you a bottle of glue. Like, nuh-uh, you're not. And then you go to the next person and say, oh, you're a bottle of glue, So it's just everybody is mixing it all up and you're using the exact same words as a defense. And it's the lawsuit's insane. Right, I'm Reverend, you're glue. I was trying to not say that. But that's what I'm talking about. They flip it. And some would call this, I'm not sure, because I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a counselor, but mirroring, right? When you're with someone and they're showing you this kind of crappy behavior, and so then you start to mirror that behavior. The Supreme Court will take the Obergefell. I don't, Lindsay. I don't. Now, I reserve the right to be wrong. I do not see, and let me just get the chart here of the people. So the question was, are they going to take the Obergefell case? And I would have to say, in all honesty, and I was talking with Legal Dad the other day too. Oh my gosh. Everybody, if you're not following Legal Dad, go follow him. My goodness gracious, he's amazing. But with Legal Dad, we were both thinking to ourselves like, well, this isn't a clean case to come in and overrule Obergefell. Like, you're going to need a clean case with clean facts, easy justification. And the case that she's talking about is a mess. And she might think like, oh, I've got an extra leg up here because I was the person originally. That's not going to help your case. I mean, if you're appealing over and over and over again and being denied those appeals, it means your case is rubbish. And the Supreme Court is going to be asked a lot of times to come in and do special sessions. And I don't think they would spend that much time on this particular case. Would they bring up a case grant cert on a case that could do some damage to Obergefell? Absolutely. But that is not this case that they are looking at right now. So my thoughts, my opinions are they will not grant it because it has been appealed so many times already. And the crux of the issue is something other than what was that issue in Obergefell? Yeah, posse comitatus. Now, one of the things, everybody, with the posse comitatus, which is the statute they've been talking about a lot in California, right? Because the California, the National Guard peeps are in there, federal versus state. So the posse comitatus was an act that was passed because they did not want military and law enforcement to mix, because that was going to get out of control because of some federalism issues, right? So no mixing. So the posse comitatus was like, we can come and we can be a presence, we can protect federal stuff, but not supposed to be replacing local law enforcement. That's just not what you're supposed to do. The problem, though, with the posse comitatus is that it's weak. It's pretty weak. And this whole idea of a national emergency where the National Guard gets called in, it's really a murky world. And I think, honestly, and I truly believe this, even though this is an awful situation going on, that one of the best times to figure out where your weakest links are in the law is when you don't have crazy town happening. So if we were trying to sort through this and be under attack from another country, like is what a real emergency is, our courts would be all over the place trying to figure out how to get it sorted. But now we're actually in a time where, this might be it. We need to clean some things up so this doesn't happen again. So that's kind of how I view what's going on there. Posse comitatus is incredibly important, but we should, and I feel like we're going to be getting some precedent to clarify it. Oh, the hearing, yes, VC. Oh my gosh. If anybody gets a chance to actually hear any of these hearings, and you go and you listen, you're like, these judges are like, we've just about had it, because they were already working double, triple time, getting paid less than triple time. And I don't think people realize that about the judiciary, is that the money is just not there. We just don't pay them enough. And it's because they're not there for money. They're there for justice. Unlike some people, and which is one of the reasons that got Thomas into so much trouble, was because he recognized, I'm not getting paid that much. So I want to get paid more. So I'm going to take some, some stuffs in order to accommodate what I think I'm worth. Because it's really, in the grand scheme of things, you're not getting paid that much. And that goes all the way down to our magistrate judges. And some of our magistrate judges aren't even able to get health insurance through the county, through the state. It's a bad situation. And then now we're throwing all of this extra rubbish on top of it. And it's like, people are going to start getting pretty upset. At least they're not deciding on the really important questions, it seems. Yeah, when it comes to the Obergefell case, I feel like a lot of people have kind of misunderstood the Obergefell case, because it was, okay, so gay marriage is fine. And that was the result of it. But if you look to the legal arguments and you look to the law that had been put into place that was illegal, in that analysis, it's got a specific intent towards the Defense of Marriage Act. And that was a piece of legislation that was that allowed for the discrimination to occur. But that act's gone. That's Obergefell's nope, you're gone. And then a new act has been put into place called the, Respect of Marriage or something like that. I can't ever remember the second name. But that statute that went through codified the whole issue. Oh no. Hold on, everybody. I was worried. Okay, hold on. I just got a strike here. All right. Find uncomfortable. What? Really? Uncomfortable? Hold on, everybody. Hold on. I'm sorry. Okay. I got your feedback right here, buddy. Okay. Yeah, just a moment, please. I was using too many of the words. Live visibility restricted. Okay. All right, we're all right, everyone. It's okay. I tell you, everybody, with this app, my numbers are absolutely crashing here. Absolutely crashing. Now, I've made sure to tell everybody I'm moving over to the Tube. And I've actually started a new series over there, and I'm very excited about it. So I'm definitely moving in that direction. But I feel like we still have a couple of weeks over here to get information out. But yeah, we're getting, they may have suspended you. Well, it said for 10 minutes. Did I want to serve my 10 minutes now or later? I don't know. But we should be all right. And no worries either. I do have a backup account in case anybody's worried about that. It really is Jennifer, yeah. A sensor in the room. Right, right. Yeah, the tube's a better way to grow. For sure. Thank you, mods. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. My moderators are amazing. Is it okay? Is an act the same as codified? Yes, that's exactly right. Because your act, your laws go into the federal code. So you have your state code, which sets out all of the statutes and laws for your state through the legislature, and then your federal code sets all the federal laws. And so when we say codified, we're saying it's in the book now. So it's a statute approved through the legislature. What? No serving? Any sentence? Roe was not an act. No, Kristen. And that's the point, too. That's one of the big issues. Roe v. Wade, they had tried to make a law, a federal law, to protect, protect Roe. And we debated it every single year, but it got put on the back burner. We had the AIDS epidemic. We had all kinds of other issues going on. And so Roe kind of got shuffled to the back because we were putting fires out in other places, and it was never codified. Then Casey came in and basically destroyed Roe, left one little tiny piece of Roe in check. And they did that because they didn't want to cause the huge problems that we're seeing now after Dobbs. But that little tiny piece that was left by Casey, then that was destroyed by the Dobbs case. So it was going to happen, and legislation just was not done in time to protect that. Didn't Meta buy? Oh, maybe. Conservative doesn't want exactly VC exactly. The thing too is, in all honesty, is that Congress could codify Roe when they come back into session. Like Roe's not completely gone. Roe has been taken over by the Supreme Court, and that's based off of the Dobbs case. But if Congress came in and wrote a law to protect that, then we wouldn't have any issues at this point either. So long as it was done properly. As long as she doesn't say, I don't know, everybody. Sometimes I think I have certain words that I say repeatedly, and it drives me bonkers. It drives me bonkers because when I watch a playback, I'm like, oh, too many. And sometimes I try to get them out, but meh. Oh my gosh. Right. So yeah, so codifying is still proper. To make a long story short, which is way too late for that, my friends, Obergefell is not on fire right now. We have some things on fire, but Obergefell is not. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable with where Obergefell is at this point. So right. So I think I say right a lot. I say I sew a lot. I know. Do you think they're seeing the harm caused to women? I don't think so. And I think a glaring showing of how far removed most of our government people are from actual life is what Mr. Orange is doing in DC by calling in the National Guard. I mean, he's saying, oh, crime is rampant and it's just out of control. I'm like, have you never been in a city before? Like, is this your first time ever experiencing crime or negative stuff? Like, what are you talking about? You don't need to call in extra people to solve crime. Like, that's every day. People are doing that every single day. And so, I mean, if you want to micromanage that, good stinking luck with that. But it's very frustrating because that just shows, again, an example of where they really are up in the ivory towers as opposed to understanding how, the real people live. So Yeah, that could be true. That could be true. Well, with that, my friends, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I don't know what's happened. It just said 10 minutes, so maybe it'll be 10 minutes. Next time you see me, I'll just be sitting here in silence with a black screen for 10 minutes. Oh my gosh. Don't forget, I am making the move over to the tube of you. So, lest we forget. But thanks for coming by, everybody. Take care. Have a great weekend. I'll probably see you at some point this weekend, but we'll see. But have a great night, everyone.